We can plug it in. So yeah, this is a disappearance day this is his picture right here. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Prabhu. He's the spiritual master of our spiritual master, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And we observe the disappearance and the appearance days of these great personalities. And hopefully those words will come up. In the meantime, I can actually read the translation of this prayer to the Acharyas. So, he who brought the treasure of divine love maybe I should wait till they finish. I'll do it anyway. He who brought the treasure of divine love and who was filled with compassion and mercy, where has such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatan? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Ragopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, suddenly go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all wonderful qualities? Being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all of these devotees in whose association he performed his pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So we'll just go ahead without that, right? You're going to sing?
Yeah, I think it's that.
Okay. You should have the microphone. Can you come forward?
Thank you.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada ki Jai. God bless all the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. So, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya Visale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Iti Namate Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Charane Nivasesha Sunyavari Paskita Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padaya Visale Srimati Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Iti Namate. So, today is the day, but actually it was December 31st, 1936, but we go by the Vaishnava or Vedic calendar. It's different than the Western calendar, so it comes up different dates every year. This was the day that the spiritual master of the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, he left this mortal world. And this is in the Vaishnava philosophy and in the Vedic philosophy, in the Krishna conscious Siddhanta or philosophy, appearance and disappearance, they're one. There's no difference. It is like the rising and the setting of the sun. Because it says in the Shastra, Nityo Nityo Nam Chetanas Chetanas Nam. We're all eternal living entities. In quality, one with the Supreme Lord, but in quantity, we're very small sparks of that divine personality. So when we appear in this material world, that appearance, we all know, comes about, with certain individuals, they come for because of their past karma. We're coming here because we have business to do, to finish up, to be reunited again with the Supreme Lord. Others come to this mortal world, such as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, our own Srila Prabhupada, and in the Christian calendars coming up, the appearance of Lord Jesus Christ, who we consider a Shaktavesa avatar. He descended to help the fallen souls, and the teachings are one, but the circumstances are different. Just as Bhaktisiddhanta Srila Prabhupada, what is very unique when you study the lives of these great personalities, you'll see how they are so expert in adjusting themselves to the culture that they're in, to the times that they're in. Sometimes it may be confusing and difficult to understand, but when you actually put aside any kind of prejudices, or you look at it by hearing with a pure heart and an open mind, you see that the essence of what is being taught doesn't contradict. The externals, the customs, the language, they change. Just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, he was teaching in India in the early part of the 20th century. And what he was teaching is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is here on the altar, on the left part of the altar, and he's the one standing up to our right. Next to him is Lord Nityananda, who in the eternal pastimes, this is Krishna and Balaram, they're brothers. It's actually the first expansion of Krishna. So 500 years ago, and I don't want to get into, it's a very long story, but 500 years ago, Lord Chaitanya appeared in order to teach the Sanatana Dharma, the eternal religion. Religion really doesn't cover it. Dharma means the essence of our very being. Like water is wet, sugar is sweet, salt is salty. So Dharma, our eternal Dharma is that we're all servants. Now either we're serving something in this material world. Even if you become a great leader, if you become a president, you have to serve the public. You have to serve all your constituents. So either you're serving some the material energy, or you're serving the Supreme Lord. And our Sanatana Dharma for this age is revived by what is called the Sankirtan movement. Sankirtan movement is the congregational chanting of the Lord's holy names, as we were just doing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare is the energy of the Lord. Srimati Radharani is the Lord's is his divine female energy, and we approach Krishna by calling to her, O Malahara, please engage us in our Father's service. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna has many names, depending on his pastimes, depending on his qualities that he's exhibiting at that time. There are many, many names for God. God and his name are non-different. The name and the named are one. So when we chant the name, a bona fide name of God, you are associating with God directly. He is actually dancing on your tongue. So we pray to Malahara, oh Malahara, please let me serve Krishna. Hare Krishna. Then Hare Rama. Rama means the spiritual strength, spiritual pleasure. And the real pleasure, real life begins when we stop identifying with dead material energy. What is the difference between me and this chair and this desk. We're all made of all those three objects. My body, this chair, this desk is made of the same material energies or atoms, molecules, whatever. They're all the same material energy. But I am conscious and they are not. What is the difference between a living body and a dead body? Consciousness. One is conscious and one is not. And what is the cause of consciousness? What combination of material energy causes consciousness? Does anyone have an answer to that question?
No.
Because if you do, you win the Nobel Peace Prize or Science. There is no answer. The cause of consciousness is the presence of anti-material energy, spiritual energy. We are particles of God. We have fallen into this material world based on desire, and we are embodied within material bodies. So therefore, we always will feel some frustration. We'll never, ever, in this material world, come to a conclusion, fulfill all of our desires, all of our plans will all fit together, and now it's all good. Because at that moment, it begins to fall apart. Because there's nothing here that lasts forever. All of us come into this world naked, without anything, with no property, and we leave the same way. We can't take anything with us. We're all covered over in this illusion that this material world is our home, and that somehow or other there's all kinds of advertising. I mean, they're spending hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars advertising. Yes, you can enjoy in this material world. And then there's also the whole industry on helping those people who are realizing they're not enjoying, and maybe there's something wrong with them. Maybe there's a magic pill. Maybe you're just not quite right, so you just need this pill. Or maybe you just need to go to this place and have a vacation here. And you'll find happiness here in this material world. They keep selling this, but nobody in this material world. There's momentary happiness, obviously, but no one in this material world has succeeded in being able to defeat the onslaught of the material nature. And it's a futile effort. So what we follow is this process of congregational chanting. It's called Bhakti Yoga, to reconnect with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada began this teaching. He received it from his spiritual master and from his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And this is a chain of disciplic succession descending from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared 500 years ago in Bengal, India. Now, these deities may appear to be marble, but we accept the fact that God is everywhere. He's everywhere. So He can also be in those marble statues. And those marble statues are made in the image of God, based on the descriptions in the Shastra, and they are worshipped by devotees who are trained with certain mantras, and we pray and ask them to appear so that we may serve them. We may offer them food. They're not hungry. God isn't hungry. It is our privilege. We get the opportunity to utilize our human form of life to offer back to God what He has given to us. So we are encouraging people to try to understand that the human form of life is the most important species in all of the trees, the beasts, the fish, the aquatics, and the insects, all the different species of life. This human form of life is the most important form of life that the living entity can enter into. And it cannot be wasted. It's very precious. You cannot buy 1 second with millions and millions of gold coins. You cannot buy back a second. This human form, what profits the man who gains the whole world and then loses his eternal soul? This is the opportunity to understand who we are. Where did we come from? Where are we going at the moment of death? How do we achieve the real success of life? The real success of life is not how much money you have in your bank. It's not how many cars you have, how big of a house you have, how many possessions you have. It is, none of those things really add up to anything. In the end, at any moment, any one of us can be just taken away. And everything is still here. I cannot take the money with me. It can't save me. I can't take my possessions with me. They can't protect me. My friends, families, nothing can protect me. Any knowledge I have that I've acquired with great university degrees, whether it's physics or biology or chemistry or engineering, it is not going to give me the information I need, not that I won't have to come back again into this cycle of birth and death. The only knowledge that can save me from this cycle of birth and death is the knowledge that we receive through the Shastras, through the disciplic succession of spiritual masters. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada is our grandfather spiritual master. He encouraged our spiritual master to preach in the West. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu predicted that this movement will go all over the world, in every town and village. He predicted this 500 years ago. At that time, there was no technology to do so. And, I was thinking about this morning, that every other major religion, such as the Muslims, Christianity, they were spread. The Muslims, they had a way of spreading their faith, and that was militarily. They conquered countries. They gave you a chance. They gave you a choice. You can surrender to us, and you can continue doing your faith, but we're in charge, and you will pay our taxes. Or if you don't surrender to us, we will conquer you, and then we will convert you. This is how that faith was spread. Christianity, it was spread a lot through preaching, but then it gradually, it became more like we're going out as imperialists and to the new worlds, conquering these Aboriginal Native Americans or whoever we felt was inferior, and they accepted. We taught them that Jesus Christ is the one way. And that is true. He is. He can definitely give you salvation. But it wasn't spread through Shastras. There was the Bible, but they were coming out and colonializing all over the world and creating Christians. What the Hare Krishna movement has been doing is going out and distributing literatures. We go out into the streets and sing the names of God. We don't use any violence. We don't try to denigrate anyone else's religion. I'm just putting things into perspective. And in a short period of time, this movement has spread into every town and village. It was impossible to think 500 years ago that in some place in India, this movement would spread like this. It was even impossible in the 1920s and 30s that it was going to spread all over them. They didn't believe it in the 60s. When our spiritual master came here, he came here with the equivalent of about $7 in rupees and several suitcases full of books. He had the instruction of his spiritual master, and he came here to establish this principle of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and studying the Shastras such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, following this principle of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We are the fortunate ones that have come in contact with him, and we feel all very, very grateful to have had this opportunity that our spiritual master sacrificed. He came across the ocean at the age of 70 years old. I'm presently 70 years old. I don't like to drive to Picayune. He went on a freighter, not a cruise line, on a freighter. And there was no adequate living accommodations, so they gave him some storage room to stay in across the North Atlantic in August and September. At the age of 70, he knew no one in America. The only thing he had was the instruction of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, who was a very erudite individual. His teachings in India, the way he preached, if you read his literatures, that most of us, even though we're even English speaking, we can't follow because it's so erudite. He had such a grasp of the English language that most of us find it difficult to comprehend the way he spoke. He was an extreme. He translated so many books, and he opened up so many temples within India. And at the time, this particular method of worship was not very popular in India, and there was great struggle to do so. But he was encouraging the young men who were his followers to come to the West, and they found it to be too difficult to do until Srila Prabhupada took it up at the age of 70. When Prabhupada first met Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he was a member of Gandhi's movement. This was in the 1920s. And he told Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, who was going to listen to us? We're from a poor country. We're not even independent. We're under the British rule. Why should we? Who will take up this message of Lord Chaitanya? And Bhaktisiddhanta defeated him. That he said, politics this is external world. The real thing is this understanding of our transcendental nature, the metaphysical aspects of our lives, the spiritual aspect of our lives. And Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, was very enlivened by these words and became determined at the right time to come to America. He came and he landed at a time when there was great upheaval in the 1966, and he lived in the Bowery at first, then the Lower East Side of New York City. He had no sponsors. He just started sitting under a tree chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And gradually, he made adjustments. He did things that Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, he also made adjustments, but in India. And if what Prabhupada did, our spiritual master did in America, the Indian form of spiritual life, they would criticize. But he had to make adjustments according to time, place, and circumstance. So that is the amazing thing about all of these great acharyas. They know how to adjust themselves according to time, place, and circumstance. And we are very fortunate that Srila Prabhupada came and gave us this opportunity. And on this day, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's Disappearance Day, we want to honor his legacy. We want to express our deepest gratitude that he was so determined to get Lord Chaitanya's movement organized in a way that Srila Prabhupada was inspired to come and give us this opportunity to understand the real purpose of life, who we are, why we're here. It's not just to become successful materially. We are all fighting all over the world. nowhere is there peace. There is no economic solution to our problems. There is no political solution to our problems. The only solution to our problems is spiritual. And this is not sectarian. We encourage everyone to be sincere to their own faith. But in any case, I just wanted to say a few words about this day in Bhaktisiddhanta Srila Prabhupada's mercy upon us all. I'll give you a little history of Bhaktisiddhanta. He was born in Jagannath Puri, which is where Lord Jagannath is worshipped. And when he was a baby, his father was praying. Bhaktivinoda, he was the magistrate of Jagannath Puri, and he was praying for a great devotee to come and help him preach. And at one point during the Rath Yatra festival, the cart stopped in front of their house. So it was arranged that the baby of Bhaktisiddhanta could be put at the feet of Jagannath. And they put the baby at the feet of Lord Jagannath. And at that moment, a garland from Lord Jagannath fell, like an umbilical cord, like a Brahman thread, around the body of the baby, which was considered a very auspicious sign. At the age of about 6 or 7 years old, he accidentally ate a mango that had not yet been offered to God. So he decided at that time that he would never eat mango again for the rest of his life, which was his favorite fruit. So for his entire life, he never ate mango again. He was an extremely determined, renounced individual. He was considered the Nrsinga Guru. He was so powerful, he could defeat any argument, material or spiritual. He took a vow to chant 1 billion names of God. It took him something like 5 or 6 years. Standing in Mayapur, living in a hut. He was a very, very renounced individual, and Srila Prabhupada was a grahasta when he met him, and Srila Prabhupada couldn't immediately help him, but he was always thinking, I have met such a great spiritual master, I met such a great individual, and I must do something. And he was always praying for that moment. There's some really nice pastimes, but I think I'm running out of time. What time is it? Is it 1:30 yet?
1:15 or so.
Oh, okay. There's a really interesting pastimes here from Bhaktisiddhanta's life, where he was on parikrama. Where is that? It's here. I'm not saying exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, this is once Srila Saraswati Thakura came out from Bhakti Vijaya Bhavan at around 2 in the morning, calling, "Everyone look! See over there! Gauranga and Nitai are going on Sankirtan. Follow them! Follow them! Come on, see!" All the devotees rushed out, but no one could see them. Another time in the middle of the night, Srimad Tirtha Maharaj roused the devotees. "Get up! Look at what is going on!" Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati also awoke and said, "Just see, Panchataka are going by, chanting and performing Sankirtan. Come, let's follow them." The devotees accompanied their guru out into the darkness, but only Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Srimad Tirtha Maharaj could see them. Such incidents were not uncommon in the pastimes of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, especially in Navadvip Dham. One time, at Bhakti Vijaya Bhavan, around midnight, a sound awoke Srila Seva Vilas Brahmachari. He arose and beheld Saraswati Thakur striding toward the south, absorbed in thought. Seeing him going along in the deep night, Seva Vilas Prabhu thought it wise to follow. Reaching the yoga pit, Srila Saraswati Thakur prostrated in respect, and after proceeding a little further south, he repeatedly cried, "Ha, Sacinanda Gohari! and again made dandavats. Soon tumultuous kirtan became audible, and many devotees approached, surrounded, sounding mridangas, kartals, conch, and gongs. Srila Saraswati Thakur offered dandavats to them. They reciprocated, offered dandavats, and they said, Srila Saraswati Thakur, today we are graced with darshan at the lotus feet of you, who are eternal associates of Lord Chaitanya, and the most dear Manjari of Radha. Glance mercifully upon and favor the lower falling souls. By your mercy, that of Sri Gaurasundar and his Dham is attained. In humility-laden tones, Srila Saraswati Thakur replied, you are all Vaishnavas of Svetadweep, eternal Gauradham Vasis and servants of Lord Chaitanya. Our only desire is to attain your mercy. These divine beings offered prayers to Srila Saraswati Thakur, and they resumed kirtan. There's when he was on parikrama, they were traveling. Says that they had a group of, they went on a parikrama that they took. Here it is. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati led the group of pilgrims on the 168-mile route. Although such devotional expeditions were regularly conducted by other sects, particularly the Vallabha Sampradaya, the Gaudiya Math Parikrama was one of the biggest ever seen in Vrindavan. Everything was done in a grand way. The devotees walked in procession, headed by the deity of Lord Chaitanya, carried atop an elephant named Kirtan Das, accompanied by 2 horses and a police band. Along the way, 6 camels were purchased to help carry loads. And they also brought truckloads of sweets and vegetables and fruits to give to all the local inhabitants of Vrindavan. And so the pastimes of the Lord are eternal, and the pastimes of the Lord's devotees are also eternal. So therefore, when they appear, it is a great opportunity for all of us that they've taken their mercy to come and appear before us. But when they disappear, it's also, it's not lamentable in the sense we miss them, but we know that they're going on. They've left behind a legacy. To be in their presence and to have their lives touch all of us is our great opportunity. And we all are benefiting by it. It's like, in the Aborigine customs, they see this one place in one of the South Pacific Islands, they see when the sun sets into the ocean, they think it's being swallowed by the ocean. So they don't know what happened to it. So in the same way, we think that when someone dies, we don't know where they go. We just say, oh, they went to a better place. But what is that better place? Do we know? We don't know what that better place is. But these individuals, these personalities, have given us the information of what is the spiritual world. They've given us the information of what is this material world. They've given us a process in this age on how to achieve the spiritual world, where there is no war, there is no death, there is no old age, there are no taxes, no anxiety, no fear. There is only eternity, bliss, and everyone is in full knowledge. Nothing ends. The bliss increases. Everything, Krishna's, like every movement is a wave of beauty. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there's nothing, no pleasure that can match what we can experience by developing and uncovering our pure nature. That pure nature, free from envy, free from greed, free from lust and anger. It's there within us. That's who we really are. And so this process, we don't have to go off and meditate in the mountains and fast and stand in ice cold water up to our necks or put our bodies into contortions. We don't have to, study vast quantities of books and becoming scholars and learning different languages. We simply have to learn how to meditate on the holy name of the Lord and how to develop a service attitude towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead with pure love. It sounds simple, but it's not easy because we have lifetimes of bad qualities that we must purify ourselves of. And that can only come about by associating with the transcendental sound vibration of Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Yes?
I was wondering who was Gokula Das Babaji, the spiritual master?
Yeah, he's the spiritual master of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. He was a disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakura. Someone over there? Yes?
When I first met the devotees in Toronto, Canada, and they said you can receive all good qualities, and I've never really meditated or thought about good qualities, but I thought, I want good qualities. Something inside of me just knew I didn't have them, and I needed to get some. So, that's just one thing sort of up to my mind.
Yes, anyone else? Yeah.
You were talking about how the Acharyas, the great spiritual masters, know how to adjust for the time, place, and circumstances. I'm not sure if you said very much about the part where they don't change anything. They don't change the essence. So I'm just, in case it wasn't said.
No, I'm pretty sure I said that, but if I didn't, thank you. But the essence is always the same, that, this material world is a temporary place. There is no solution to our real hankerings, our real problems by trying to perfect our life within this material world. It's like trying to build a house, that's on the shore of the water, and every few days the ocean comes in, the tide comes in and washes it away, and then I start over again. Actually, some people are doing that anyway, but the whole material world is a very fragile place, and we're all very fragile. I mean, just any little thing, any little germ, any little bug that bites you can send you into, you get a mosquito bite, you can get a fatal disease. And I'm not trying to sound fatalistic, but the world is a place of death. We are born to die. But when we die, we live. We don't end. The point is awakening in this material world now. Don't try to just use this life for temporary sense gratification, for the temporary thrills that you are advertised. Try to use this world as a place and this time to understand that what I am and what this material world is and what is the purpose of life. And the purpose of life is to use my intelligence, God's given intelligence, to understand who is God. There is a creator. This world just didn't come about by chance. It didn't just happen, as some people would like to present. It's not because of a huge explosion, or nothing comes from nothing. Yeah, everything comes from something. Everyone comes from someone. There's intelligence behind this universe. It's all very carefully orchestrated. This whole universe, this planet, everything is carefully, just like a clock, moving precisely. That requires intelligence. It can't just happen by chance. To say that is insulting to God. And I'm not so expert in explaining my feelings. I'm not so expert in explaining the seriousness of this process. I'm simply trying my best to express what I have heard from my spiritual master. And, I hope that I don't get in the way of your taking to this process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yes?
Just a few things that comes to mind. One is, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that grandfather is very merciful to grandchildren.
Yes.
Guru's Guru, spiritual grandfather, is very merciful to devotees. So to pray with him on this day is definitely very merciful.
Yes.
There's a famous quote that if someone distributed even one book a day, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is very pleased with them.
Right. Yes.
And he also mentioned the importance of each and every devotee. So a devotee was in the temple at that time. So when he was not there, after Prabhupada was not there, his family members came and took him away. So when Prabhupada came to know about that, he was very much upset. He was crying. So we spend gallons and gallons of blood to make one devotee. So
right.
How precious is that? How fortunate we are to have devotee association, and we should.
One thing I'd like to mention is that I had the great fortune to be with Srila Prabhupada on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's appearance day in 1975 in Atlanta. And I can share some of that with you. This, because there's something about the personality of these, like Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. They carry the holy Dhams with them. They're like in a bubble. You know that you're in the presence of pure spiritual energy. You know you're in the presence of divine love. And Prabhupada, it was his spiritual master's birthday. And so he spoke about there's no reason to lament. He said, actually, there's Vani and Vapu. Vapu is the words of the spiritual master. Vapu is the form, the bodily form of the spiritual master. If you associate with your spiritual master physically, and then there's the Vani, you associate with him through his instructions. He said, of the two, the Vani is more important than the Vapu. You may be, because you're in that presence of that personality, it's really easy to want to please them. You want to do something so that they'll recognize you. But if they're gone, and then you just go right back to the same nonsense, and that is not real love. But the real love is, you heard those instructions, and now I continue to follow those instructions. That connection is much deeper. Service and separation is much deeper than Bhapu. And Prabhupada had that. He had many godbrothers who also had the same instruction to come to the West and preach, to spread this movement all over the world in every town and village. He was the only one who actually took it up. Even when he started having success, he kept begging them, please, things are going well. But for some reason, that didn't happen. Prabhupada took up that, so he was sitting on the Vyasayana, and he was telling us, you could see, he was the embodiment of Vani, service and separation. He contained that pure divine love. He was a pure, transcendentally realized soul. So he performed an arti ceremony for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and it was a very ecstatic moment. And at one point, while they were offering, first he offers incense, then he offers the ghee, wick, then he offers water. So Srila Prabhupada was standing, we had built the Vyasa sign, say, right here, 1 inch taller than Prabhupada's. And there was a huge painting of Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada on it. And Srila Prabhupada was standing on the far end, over here, between the two Vyasa signs. And so he's offering to the picture, and then when he turns around, there's a conch of water, and there's no bowl to put the water in. So he turned to the temple president, Balavanta, and I was standing right to the side of Prabhupada. And so he turned around and said, "A bowl. I need a bowl." And there was a big kirtan going on. And then at that moment, Balavanta thought he was saying, "Hari Bol." So he jumps up and starts going, "Hari Bol! Hari Bol!" Everybody starts chanting Hari Bol. So then Prabhupada took the water, and he's on that far side over to here, and there's a plant, Tulsi, right here. And just with a flip of his wrist, like that, in a perfect arch, it went the distance from there to here, right into the pot, the flower pot. And it didn't drip, it didn't fall, it just went like that. It was the most beautiful expression. So people say, "Oh, that's a miracle, it's a miracle." You know, the spiritual master can do all kinds of things. But Prabhupada wasn't about like producing little granules of gold. He wasn't about perfectly shooting water across, which was impossible. It should never have happened. You know, there was something. But what Prabhupada could do is he could take all of these different personalities and get them to all cooperate and work together for one purpose. For helping him spread this message of Lord Chaitanya, of chanting. He got that miracle. He got people like myself, who I was coming right out of the 60s. I mean, I didn't call myself a hippie, but if you looked at me, you would say, "Oh, there's a hippie." I called myself a bohemian, you know. Mm-hmm. So, and it was free love. It was plenty of alternative states of mind available, and he got us to sit down and give up all of that. Give up all of it. And some of my god brothers and sisters come from great wealth. Amarish, he's Alfred Ford. He's the great-grandson of Henry Ford. He's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Gives it all up to live in an ashram and chant Hare Krishna. So many personalities, materially successful personalities, gave all of that up for this process, for this divine person, because they could see he had something that no one else had. George Harrison said, "I had met so many people all over the world. And Bhaktivedanta Swami, when I saw him, there was something, he was different from anyone else. He wasn't impressed anymore. He had met the Queen, he met the presidents, all these great personalities, most successful movie stars, whatever, famous people. When he met Prabhupada, he saw something different." I mean, he also stated that about a few other, realized souls. But he was impressed with that, not the amount of wealth or success. It was his purity, his pure love for God, for Krishna, and for everyone else. He didn't see friends and enemies. He just saw an opportunity, as you just stated. He just saw an opportunity to give another fallen soul a chance to reawaken their lost relationship with Krishna. That's what Prabhupada was about. He was not about becoming a big guru. He was not about having lots of followers or living opulently. He always lived the very same way. You know, how many, you know, at night you just sleep, you only need 6 feet. You don't need, you know, a mansion with 20, 30, 40 rooms. How much can you eat? A few handfuls of rice and dal and a few chapatis. How much can you eat? How much money do you really need? It's not about these external things. We'll never find satisfaction, ultimately. And at the time of death, when death will come, and it will come for all of us, then we understand, oh, yes, this life I need. I pray that I can remember Krishna at the time of death. I pray that I can get out of this material world and not come back again. Srila Prabhupada gave us something that you can't put a dollar value on. And I was very fortunate to have that chance to see him, how he said, my spiritual master asked me to come to America. And there he says, give up meat eating, give up intoxication, give up illicit sex, give up gambling, and simply sit down and chant Hare Krishna. And he said, it's impossible. That's impossible. But let me try anyway. And he did, and we're all benefited for it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So we have Prasadam now.
Watch this.